I'm Teresa Carraggio, and this is Third Paradigm. Today, I'm continuing with the theme of synchronicities, serendipity, and I'm going to be talking about a town called Cherán in Michoacan, which is in Mexico. They are an inspiration to anarchists everywhere, and I'm going to reveal some surprising connections. Let's look at this. 5 years ago, in October, just before the lockdowns, I went to Pátzcuaro, which is also a little town in Michoacan. I had a friend who does guided tours there and different connections. As part of the tour, I went to a gallery of someone who captured the rituals and ceremonies of Michoacan, and her name is Florence Lorette. She had on display some very dramatic photos, as you can tell, wearing the masks, and there's a dance that they do in which the men wear different animal costumes and then dance with these dolls, which I think is so intriguing and brings me back to that sense of protection and that's really what this is all about. But there was another series that really captivated me where she had done portraits of young people and their grandmothers, because the grandmothers in Cherán were the ones who stood up to the drug cartels. And this is one that I bought from her. This is a man named Giovanni Fabian, and he's an artist. There is another book that I got called Cherán, which are all artists from Cherán. And here it has some of his art. And this is another piece. And then this is an installation. There are many other amazing artists in this group. And their theme is taking power from our own identity. I once proposed a play on that for my world dance crew, which is women taking power from our own sexuality, where it is not being done for anyone else's benefit. Florence and I developed a strong spiritual bond that continued after I came back to the States, based on a shared sense that nothing happens by accident, that all things are interwoven and there is purpose in everything. So she would not be surprised at all that Francis Leader reposted an article saying this Mexican town kicked out the government and is thriving. And that turned out to be from Crow of Nevermore Media, someone that I have been connecting with lately over David Graeber and Anarchy. So that, when I looked it up, of course, was about Cherán. What are the odds? You may say, well, of course, how many are there? But you'd be forgetting about the Zapatistas in Oaxaca, and we should never forget about the Zapatistas, who are great heroes of mine. Let's read what it is that Crow has to say about Cherán. Recently, 2 members of the Nevermore team have traveled to the autonomous zone of Cherán, Michoacan, a state which has long been a hotspot in Mexico's bloody drug war. After years of being terrorized by narco-traffickers who operated with conjunction with the state government, the inhabitants of Cherán revolted in 2011, successfully expelling both the government and other organized crime from their municipality. After taking control of their community, the people of Cherán decided to ban political parties, abolish police, and establish a unique form of participatory government based on their indigenous Purépecha traditions. As anarchists, it was truly beautiful to be in a place where the people have seized control of their community from the state, and we were delighted to see that the community, by all appearances, is doing very well. Crow continues to explain the problem. The territory of Cherán covers an area of more than 20,000 hectares, and the economy of the region has long been based on the commercial harvesting of pine resin as well as agriculture, timber, and the raising of livestock. However, beginning in 2008, the community began to be plagued by illegal logging, which was carried by business people who were also involved in both the drug trade and the avocado industry. These loggers proceeded to cut down the community's forest at a breakneck pace. Between 2008 and 2011, over 8,000 hectares were devastated. To make matters worse, these criminal elements profiting from the destruction of the forest were doing so with the intention of converting the deforested land into avocado plantations. In other words, they were planning to take over the area and use it as a base of operation for years to come. Out of fear of the malos, as they were called, and their threats, nobody would go into the forest anymore because they wouldn't come back. The situation of terror did not cease, and neither did the loggers. But the situation changed when the malos began to demand more and more from the community. First it was the forest, then the cattle, then the women, then the plaza, extortion fees. Before they would enter the town armed, we couldn't do anything, Josefina explained. And then they came for the water. Crow goes on to explain how this is an uprising that was led by the women. The men were off working in the fields, working in the states and sending money back. Who was left was the grandmothers and the mothers and the young people. It was started by Mrs. Josefina, who describes herself as just a housewife, and you know how I love that. So they're the ones who one day rang the bell and decided no more, that they blocked the road, they stood up to them when they started shooting bullets, they threw back firecrackers, they held them off militarily with what they had, but then they also did the logistics. They also used their political savvy to be able to read the law and understand what the Constitution said, and to be able to use that to show that they had the right to be autonomous. Other words for anarchy are community self-governance or small-scale sovereignty. I'm going to be talking more about Appalachia and showing why standing up to government and corporations isn't just for Mexico. We all need to learn more about what anarchy really is these days. In another synchronicity, you can see that Giovanni has an owl tattooed across his chest, and it was Tobin Owl who made the connection for me with this group, and we're going to be having many more discussions, I know, on anarchy. And as everyone who listens to me knows, the crow is my totem creature. For more on this topic, here is Indigenous equals self-generating, and this is the economics of anarchy. Stay in the synchronicities.